All right, we'll get started. I'm sure more people will slowly start joining, but we'll kick it off. So thanks everyone for joining today. So in today's webinar, we'll be discussing how you can simplify your database management with the new Oracle 23 AI features, as well as full stack disaster recovery. So here is the agenda today. So we'll start off with the new Oracle database features, which is 23 AI, an introduction and overview to full stack disaster recovery. And then we'll cover, implementing FSDR for Oracle SE, SQL Server, and Postgres using FSDR. Using Standby multi-platform. And then we'll finish it off with Q&A. All right, so your speakers today is Vijay. So he's our head of customer services at Dbvisit, and he is also our senior DBA. You have Suraj, and he's a principal product manager at Oracle, and he will be covering the Oracle 23 AI features today. And then also Greg, and he is the principal product manager for Oracle, and he will be covering the overview of FSDR, full stack disaster recovery. It's just a little bit of housekeeping. So the webinar is recorded. It will be shared with you after today's session. And if you do have any questions, please leave them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them throughout or otherwise at the end. All right, I'll just stop sharing now. So over to you, Suraj, for the 23 AI features. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Seren. Hello, everyone. This is Suraj Ramesh. I am one of the product manager here at Oracle. I represent the Oracle Database Maximum Availability, Scalability, and HA product management team. And I'm also one of the product manager for the full stack DS service as well. So I'm going to spend 10 to 15 minutes talking about the recently launched Oracle Database 23 AI, high-level new features, and then what's our strategy and roadmap. Again, like I can do deep dive in future sessions, but being I have only 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to quickly go through some of the most important features which we released in 23 AI. Along with that, I'll cover some other aspects as well. Okay, so first thing you might be wondering, I'm sure you would have attended the keynote from Larry and Juan Luis a couple of weeks before when we released 23AI. For those folks who have not attended, we rebranded our Oracle database version from 23C, which we released sometime last year, to 23AI, right? So basically the latest RU from 23 is what 23AI is, right? So that's just rather than C, it is 23AI. Okay, with that, let's get started. Okay, so the Oracle database vision is to make modern apps and analytics easy to develop and run for all sort of use cases at any scale, right? So that's been our vision for a long time. But with the recent AI developments and all these things happening, right, we want to help our customers to Oracle database to cater those requirements as well, right? So example, customers who are using generative AI use case, they could use still Oracle database to generate and then run your applications for such use cases as well. So how we deliver that vision, right? So we have a unique thing of what we call as converged database, right? So if you see in our competitive landscape, like each workload type, customer tend to use a different sort of database to handle various workloads. But Oracle's unique differentiator is irrespective of whatever workload, like example, relational, JSON, graph, spatial, machine learning, everything can be handled, all modern data set, whatever you have, right, through a single database using Oracle database, right? So that's a significant differentiator comparing to that. So that's why we call as our converged database. And then on top of it, you can use powerful services in our cloud, which is called Oracle Autonomous Database, which provides all the converged database capability, which is running on Exadata, and also you get the fully managed service benefit as well, right? So that's where our customers get a lot of benefits, achieving your converged database capability as well. Along with that, you can use services like Oracle Autonomous Database in our cloud. Okay, so what we are doing in 23C AI database is, right, Again, as I mentioned in my previous slide, like for each workload site, generally customer choose different types of database depending on what type of workload they have. But Oracle has the converged databases, right? So by using that, you can unify all your data models at a fundamental level, right? So that's why you can eliminate any data inconsistency trade-off and also the operational issues as well, which generally you tend to have if you want to manage different types of database for different workloads. Okay, so we have three key capabilities within the 23 AI. Okay, so the first thing is what we call as for app dev, and then the second key capability is for mission critical systems, and the third one is for the machine learning and then AI generative use case, right? So I'm going to start with the app dev part, right? So example, before 23 AI, Oracle supports JSON data type and also graph database as well. But with 23 AI, we unify the JSON document graph AI with a relational model. So what I mean by that, I will talk about in my subsequent slides. Okay, so coming back to the original 23 AI release, right? We have a major 300 new features has been added along with a significant amount of enhancements, right? So this is going to be a long-term release. So customers who are currently in 19C, they would be ideally upgrading to 23C, right? So 19C was our initial long-term release, but 23 AI would be the next long-term release. Our customers should be upgrading the 19C database to 23 AI database. And again, you will have longer support windows, another thing which I'll share at the end in the RMOS note which we have. And again, this is the high level features, right? Again, as I mentioned in my starting part, I'm going to just touch upon some of our marquee features, right? But just to give a glimpse of all the new features which we have in 23 AI, right? We have a lot of features. You can refer our documentation, but I'm going to spend some time on the three capabilities which I mentioned, right? And also the features which align with those three capabilities. Okay, so I mentioned about app dev. So what kind of new features we have with app dev, right? So the two things are significant new features, what we call as JSON related duality views, and the second one is called the property graph views. Okay, so let's start with JSON duality. I'm sure everyone is aware about what JSON is, right? So it's basically Java script object notation. So all the modern apps are stored in a JSON document database so that you can store your data in a hierarchical format in a key value pair store. So apart from that, standardly Oracle customers store relational data as well, right? So with this feature, what we are doing is, right, by using the duality views, you can combine the advantage of using JSON documents with all the capabilities of what the relational model provides, right? While avoiding the limitations of each. So basically, the relational duality underpins your collections of your documents with relational storage and also provide the JSON features as well, right? So you don't need to, give away the benefits of both by using a single database, right? You can take advantage of both those capabilities of relational as well as the JSON view as well. And again, you can, if your app looks like a JSON, right, then you can use simply a get JSON document with a hierarchical format. And in case if you want to edit the document, then you can simply put it back by using the standard SQL format, right? So it gives a great flexibility if your application is depending on both kind of formatting capabilities. Okay, so the next one is the property graph view. So again, graph is one of the more popular model if you talk about any social networks or customer interaction or transport models or any banking fraudulent transaction system, right? So a lot of those use cases, graphs are a powerful way to connect your connections and relationship between the data. And again, we have something called vertices or edges, which is used in Oracle Graph, which used to discover your connectivity between your vertices and edges. And with 23 AI, right, what we are introducing is new property graph views, right, with Oracle Database 23 AI, which provides a declarative intent to treat data as vertices and edges in a graph, right? So that's, and again, a significant improvement when you compare to the previous version of Oracle Database. Okay, along with that, in terms of app dev, we have few more notable features as well. So example, we have a feature called Boolean data type. So again, Boolean data previously you could achieve using PL SQL, But with this Boolean data type, right, customer can simply, store, let's say if you want to store a true or false in your column, right, you can simply use your column data type as Boolean, right? So it provides a native way of storing your Boolean data type. And we have things like JavaScript store procedures you can use, which can be executed by fast multilingual engine. And we also have wider tables, right? Example, we have support of 4096 columns per table, right? So you can do that by using alter system set max columns to extended. And also we have log-free, value reservation feature as well. Okay, so let's talk about our next, set of features in terms of what's new in Oracle Database 23 AI for AI. So we have, a lot of built-in capabilities for an AI before 23 AI itself, right? So what we are categorizing with 23 AI is three things. The first one is in-database MIL and ML predictive model. And the second one is called AI vector search. And the third use cases for generative AI. So for the machine learning, right, again, this has been available for a long time. So we have uh, 30 built-in parallel machine learning algorithms built within the database, right? So rather than moving your data outside of database, right, you can do all your machine learning prediction and stuff within the database itself, right? So by using all your techniques like classification, clustering, regression, all those things, right? So again, this has been significantly improved in 23 AI, but the machine learning capabilities within Oracle database is there for a long time. And the second one is what we call a select AI. So this is what in terms of large language model and those kind of rights, right? So example, you can see here in this demo. So we have a concept called select AI. By using that, you can use a show SQL. So example, you can tell a SQL query, right? So example, what are my top stream movies that are released after 2023 by using the natural language? By using that, you can query your Oracle database to natural language processing, right? And similarly, if you want to see the SQL which is being used, then you can just simply use show AI SQL, show SQL, right? So again, this is currently available within Oracle Autonomous Database. So we leverage large language models from like through OpenAI. So we have integration with Cohere and also the Azure OpenAI, right? So you can use those things for integrating the large language models, and then you can use the Oracle database on top of it to stream those, to query those data. Again, this is things are, currently available in Oracle Autonomous Database, and also there is a blog link which you can refer if you want to understand more details about this. And last thing I would like to end up with the AI capabilities, the vector search. Again, vector is something has been in a rapid rise for the last couple of years, right? So all the large language models and other things works on top of the vector search database. So basically, vector is something you can relate to semantics, right? So on top of this, right, for 23 database, 23 AI, we have a new data type called vector within the Oracle database. So when you create a table, you can create a column with vector type, right? So that you can store your vectors, and then you can simply use your standard SQL syntax, and then on top of it, you can able to do semantic searches, right? So again, this is significantly a broad feature which helps to cater all those kind of AI kind of workloads and also the large language models. Again, the vector AI search is fully integrated with all the key features within Oracle database, right? Because whatever new features comes, right, it has core integration with all the HA and DR capabilities, like the example, like RAG, sharding, partitioning, X-Rata. So all the new features, though it is released, it has core integration with all the core database features so that you can get enterprise-grade performance and reliability and scalability. Okay, so the next set of thing I just want to end up with is what's new for DBS and IT operators, right? So we have spoken about for dev and then for AI use cases. I just want to spend a couple of slides about what's new in 23 AI for DBS and IT operators. So the first thing is for mission critical apps enhancement, we have something called priority transaction. So the DBS can easily relate. Example, if you create, let's say, an update table, right, and then you have not done a commit, and then for another session, if something updates the same table, right, then basically the first session has to complete or do a rollback before the second sessions go on, right? But with 23 AI, you can prioritize the transaction. So basically, you have features where you can set low priority and high priority, based upon your application requirement, so that if you have a low priority transaction, that gets timed out so that your high priority transaction will carry on without a DBA intervention. And then the second feature which I would like to talk about is called True Cache. So true cache is something in mid-tier you can compare the database things like Redis and those kind of stuff, right? So for with the true cache feature, what you can do is disclex Oracle database instance which can be created to deploy as a cache. So rather than deploying on mid-tier caches like Redis and other thing, you can simply use your true cache capability created which is mid-tier, right? So any SQL query which needs to be done can be directly transferred to your cache instead of database, right? Again, this is going to be a great feature where if you're leveraging any mid-tier caches, that can be completely avoided and you can take advantage of this true cache capability. And the third one is what we call as active globally distributed database. Again, the globally distributed database is nothing but sharding. We rebranded that feature to globally database distributed database. But with 23 AI, we started supporting application protocol called Raft, where you can do your database for govern. I mean things like data sovereignty and things kind, right? So you can distribute a database across multiple data centers, and then by using Raft replication, you can achieve sub-second failover capabilities, right? Again, this is a really good feature in terms of if you want to have active kind of topology, then you can use this replication capability. And the last one is readable per PDB standby database. Again, from 21C, we had this capability of per PDB standby, but with 23 AI, you can even open in a standby mode for your PDBs as well, right? So this improves your production database significantly for offloading any read-only workloads and also the backups and those kind of stuff. All right, and then finally, I have a few features for security as well, right? For database security. So we have a new feature called in-database firewall. Previously, we used to have something called database firewall, but that is something we have a product called AVDF, which is basically audit vault and database firewall. But this feature has direct in-database firewall capabilities without doing the outside of the database, right? So you can do protection against unauthorized SQL and SQL injection attacks directly within the database, right? And then we have read-only users. So when you try to create any user, by default, it gets created as read-write. But you also have to create a read-only user so that those users cannot do any insert and update, right? Right. So that's again a great security feature. And then we have a newly introduced role called DB developer role. So that in case if you provide this, right, we generally provide the standard developer role so that you don't need to grant all sorts of privileges to developers for doing any debugging and other kinds, right? And finally, this is a great feature, what we call as a schema privilege, right? Generally, if customers want to provide a schema privilege for any application, right, they have to go through a big kind of grand checklist for providing all sort of things to your schema. But with a simple thing, you can just create grant select any table on schema scales to vary. So by using that, you can simply do grant on a schema, right? So again, this is a great feature with terms of security. So 23AI is currently already available in our public cloud. And also for on-premises, you can use database free. And for other places, it's coming up soon. I know we have a lot of questions getting from our customers when 23AI will be available for on-prem. Stay tuned for more updates that is coming up soon, sometime this year. And again, this is the MOS note I was referring. So in case of, if you want to know about any support timelines, we highly recommend to bookmark this MOS support note and you can refer to those details. All right, I just want to summarize so that I can hand it over to Greg. So in terms of Oracle Database 23AI, right, our focus is to provide one single database which can provide converged database capabilities. And with using our autonomous database, you get all those capabilities on top of the fully managed service. And with generative AI features, with vector search and other things, right, you can use our database for running modern apps and analytics for all kind of use cases at any scale. And 23AI is going to be our next long-term release so that you get longer support term window as well. With that, I'll hand it over to Erin. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, I'll just quickly share my screen. Perfect.
All right.
Over to you, Greg.
All right. Thank you, Erin. Thanks, Serge. All right, so let me go through this pretty quickly. If I'm Greg King, I'm the product manager for Full Stack DR. I work along with Surge. I work for the engineering, so I work for Full Stack DR. Go ahead, next slide. All right, so today we're just going to cover some really general overviews. If you want, if you're interested in this, reach out to your account team. And then, you can schedule, a deeper dive into this presentation to your company, anything that you need. Anyway, let me start up this. There we go. All right, so full stack DR, I want to make this right here, it orchestrates DR. So I want to make sure people understand that we're not going to install, configure, or deploy any of your applications, magically deploy them for disaster recovery. What we're doing is orchestrating the recovery steps. So all that tedious stuff that you do, that's the entire point of full stack DR. Now, along with that, DR at scale, which is this one right here that I'm talking about, DR at scale means that if you take, so we're trying to eliminate all that where you open up your workbook or run book, your DR run book, and then you for the next, it takes you a little while to find the DR run book, and then you find the right version, and then you go through the usual problem with, oh, we added this, we removed this, don't forget to do that. All that, we're trying to remove all that, and then typing for hours at a keyboard, a bunch of people typing and handing, tasks off to each other. I'm trying to eliminate that for you. So a DR scale means that if you can take most companies, you guys can probably recover any one of your business applications in maybe 2 or 3, 4 hours, something like that. After you're done with that, you need to go do the next system. And so with full stack DR at scale means that we're going to, in that same amount of time or less, actually, you can now trigger and execute DR operation for many of your different business systems, HR and maybe finance and, logistics and, the customer portal, all those different applications that you have. You can trigger them all at the same time if you want to, or just one at a time. And you can do all that in the same amount of time. That's the point of this thing. Now, let me clear this. Validate DR. This is another big one. So I want to talk about this just for a moment. Validate DR. We have a couple different ways of validating DR. Now, I have customers that would spend a year or 18 months, implementing DR, their own DR, and then they're kind of wary of actually doing it because it takes an outage for a weekend, and it takes the entire crew. Everybody's got to be on hand for the weekend to go through this, and then sometimes things happen, and then it's hard to recover, and then you're under a lot of stress trying to get it back up and running by Monday if something goes wrong. So a couple things, you can validate DR plans. You're going to see this in a video. I'm going to play a video in a moment that shows you what, full stack DR in action, which is really important because after you've set it all up and you've spent the time doing this, what does it look like when you actually need to execute a DR operation like a switchover or failover? I'm going to show you a video. Now, in that video, you're going to see one of these things, which are these, well, this is not it. The pre-checks. So I'm going to demonstrate in the video pre-checks. So those validate your DR plans before you use them. You run these periodically if you want to, and it'll say, oh, I failed here because somebody deleted this virtual machine, or I got the virtual machine, but you deleted the volume group that goes with it. Or your database, somebody switched it over to the other region, and now it's kind of backwards. Standby is in primary, and primary is in standby. It'll validate those kind of things. Now, this one right here is the other way thing we have is non-disruptive DR drills. Now, what that is, a full mock failover of all of your infrastructure, compute, database, all that kind of stuff to the failover region without an outage and no impact to your production workload. So you click a button and it does the DR failover for you. and it keeps and no one's the wiser. Your customers are still able to access all of your production workload. All right, moving on. Capitalize on existing effort. If you have already spent time, writing your own little automation for this, that, and the other, you don't have to throw that away. You can keep that. If you've already deployed your applications for DR and you already do it, it just takes you 4 to 6 hours to get it done, and you're tired of taking all that time and putting all that effort into doing a switch over or testing or whatever you're trying to do. You can take all that effort that you've put and you can probably incorporate it into full stack DR, because it's fully it has an extensible framework, which makes it fully customizable, and it's very extensible. So you can do almost anything with full stack DR. You can just add it into a DR plan. So no throwing away existing effort. And then organized by business unit. I don't know if you guys are with your IT operations, and you have multiple business systems, or you're with a particular business unit. But you can organize by these protection groups, which you'll see in a moment. You can organize different application stacks with different protection groups. And then, one application stack can be in region number 1 as the primary, and region number 2, and another one can be in a completely different region number 2 as primary there. So a particular region doesn't have to be the DR region and the other region is the production region, right? Because both regions can do, fulfill both roles. So the role of primary and standby is really a function of these DR protection groups, which you'll see in a moment. And then use any DR topology. This is another very important one right here. A lot of people want to ask, do you do pilot light, or do you do cold, or do you back up and restore? How you guys using snapshots? Or no. You implement DR the way you want to, and then you tell us how you want to orchestrate it. Now, we provide a lot of built-in tools, which unfortunately we don't have time to really show you, but there's a lot of built-in things that we'll do for you that you don't need to figure out. So it makes it really quick to deploy this. These DR plans, which are your run book, and add and customize them really easy. All right, so let me talk about one other thing. So these are the things that we support right now, or we're going to be supporting. This one right here, the Kubernetes container engine for Kubernetes, OKE is another name for that. We're in limited availability right now for that. And hopefully later on this year, calendar year, in a few months, you should see this in production. Another thing is also object storage. We have a handle, and here's another important thing, even if it's not built into full stack DR right now, you can still do these things, right? You would use custom automation, but just because it's not built into full stack DR doesn't mean we can't do it. We can do almost anything you imagine. Anyway, object storage is going to be built in also. Now here's what is here right now. We can work with dedicated virtual host, DVH, the normal shared virtual machines, your compute. We work with file systems. We work with block storage right now. And we also do XSCS, base database, and autonomous database, both the data warehouse and transaction processing. And we'll also manage your load balancers right now. Now, you don't see DNS here, but we can also manage your DNS, and we have some custom scripts that right now we're working on building this in, the DNS part. But for OCI DNS, we have a script that you can download and use to also manage DNS and OCI. All right, with that, I am going to clear this, and then Aaron, if you can go to the slide, the demo slide, just skip right to the. Okay, so now before we start this, I just want to make sure you guys understand that this is not showing you how to install or configure or set up anything. This is after you've done that effort, right? And somebody just hired on 2 weeks ago needs to execute a DR plan for you, or you've invited me to come and execute a DR plan for you. I don't need to know anything about your databases, your network, your compute, or anything about what you're trying to recover. I just need to know what button to push. And that is what this is. It's going to show you that. So go ahead, Aaron, play the video, please.
I'm Greg King, the product manager for FullStack DR. I'm going to step you through the entire process of executing a switchover using FullStack DR with the click of a single button. Watch closely because the process only takes about 30 seconds. Let's begin. Navigate to Migration and Disaster Recovery in the OCI console. Select DR Protection Groups. DR protection groups are logical containers that inform FullStack DR which elements of your tenancy are part of the same business system or application stack, and which two OCI regions are peers of each other. Select the DR protection group for the business system, which is named MyApp01 in this demo. Select Execute DR Plan. I'm executing a planned orderly switchover, so I will select this. Notice the pre-checks are enabled by default. You can uncheck this to save some time if you are confident everything is going to work. I lack that confidence, so I'm going to leave pre-checks enabled. And now select the single button that triggers the execution. That's it. That was the entire process for initiating the recovery for any business system, no matter how complex or how many steps it takes to recover. You can execute other DR plans contained in other DR protection groups, or you can stay here to monitor the process of the DR plan we just executed. Your entire recovery team and executive management can access the same exact screen to monitor the progress from anywhere around the world. The key benefit I'm demonstrating today is that the person executing the DR plan does not need to understand anything about the application being recovered or have any specialized skills. You still need highly skilled technical resources on your recovery team, but they can focus on solving problems rather than being bogged down typing commands at a keyboard. And your team can execute DR plans from anywhere, even if the OCI console is inaccessible. We're not inventing new ways to perform DR. We're simply automating the manual or built-in DR steps each service or application already has in place, so your staff doesn't need to spend hours or days doing everything by hand. That means your recovery operations are much faster and more reliable because we're executing your recovery steps as fast as OCI can handle them. Now let me show you a few things about the UI. Notice that the DR plan can be canceled if things are going horribly wrong. FullStack DR also has the unique ability to pause and then resume a DR operation instead of canceling. This means you can take the time to solve major problems and then return here to resume executing the plan where it left off. Let's take a quick look at the pre-checks as they are executing. Pre-checks validate the readiness of various things such as replicated block storage and file systems, the status of compute, and ensures networks, subnets, and load balancers still exist at the standby site. It also ensures DataGuard is ready for switchover or failover and ensures custom scripts you've added to user-defined steps are accessible and executable at the primary and standby regions. This is a relatively simple DR plan, and you can see here there are slightly over 80 different validations that are performed before we even begin executing the recovery steps. FullStack DR will pause automatically if any of these pre-checks fail, allowing your recovery team to investigate and fix problems before the DR operation begins. Let me show you a couple more things. This is called a plan group. Plan groups execute serially one after another, so this group is not going to begin until all the steps contained in this group complete successfully. Notice some plan groups say built-in and others say user-defined. Built-in plan groups contain all the things we know how to do out of the box and are pre-populated based on the compute, block storage, file systems, databases, and network components you've added to a protection group. User-defined plan groups contain anything you need us to do during a recovery that we don't handle out of the box. Almost anything you can imagine can be added by your IT staff as needed. Plan groups contain one or more plan steps like this. All plan steps in a plan group are executed in parallel at the same time. If this step encounters a problem, FullStackDR will allow you to solve the problem, then return here to either skip or retry the step again. You can also view the log for each plan step as it's running. Every single step of this plan execution, including all logs, are recorded and available for review long after a plan's success or failure for postmortems, auditing, and compliance. FullStackDR is extremely flexible and can be tailored to control almost anything you need to recover, even if we don't have built-in support yet. If you can recover it using a keyboard, then it is highly likely you can control it with FullStackDR. You'll create user-defined plan groups like this one to handle shutting down your application stack at the current primary region. In this case, we are recovering a single business system that includes Oracle Analytics Cloud, OCI integration, e-business suite, and a homegrown application hosted on these virtual machines. In this case, an OCI marketplace service called Dbvisit is used to restore Microsoft SQL Server from a backup. After all the applications in this group are stopped, FullStackDR performs all the pre-populated built-in tasks that quiesce things at Region 1. Then we execute all the built-in tasks to make compute, storage, databases, and other resources available in Region 2. After that, FullStackDR steps through user-defined groups you created to tell us what you need started in what order at the second region. You create what you need. In this case, we need these to be started first. Then we can start these after the steps in Group 1 are completed. And then we'll adjust DNS and complete the remaining steps in this group. The last tasks we perform are all related to cleaning up artifacts, reversing the direction of storage replication, and other internal bookkeeping to automatically prepare your business systems for DR in the other direction. FullStackDR also keeps track of how long individual steps and groups of steps are taking to complete. The switchover is now complete. Notice the total duration time for the entire operation is shown here. The last thing I want to point out is that this protection group has automatically changed its role from standby to primary and is now ready to switch back to the other region. That's it. I hope this video was helpful and thanks for watching.
All right, thanks for playing that, Aaron.
I'm Greg
That's
King.
the end of what I was going to talk about with FullStackDR. There is a lot more to it. We have a video playlist that video is in, and it's a deep dive. It talks about technical concepts and things like that. Reach out to Dbvisit, Aaron, or anybody else that you are in contact with to have them send you that information. And you can also, of course, set up a presentation to your company. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Greg. All right, over to you, VJ. I will stop sharing.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. So hope you guys can see my screen. Hello, everyone. I'm Vijay. I'm the head of customer services and the senior DBA for Dbvisit. So in my presentation, let's look at initially who we are and why do we need a standby database or a disaster recovery for Oracle or SQL Server or Postgres, and also the architecture and concept of how to integrate Dbvisit with FSDR as well. So for FSDR for Oracle, I see SQL Server and Postgres. So this is a very important concept here. So for example, you would be able to right size your database licenses based on your requirements, because when it comes to Oracle SC, so you are decreasing your cost with using your standard edition, and also you don't have disaster data guard like features in Oracle standard edition. That's where Dbvisit comes into picture. And when we integrate with FSDR, you not only provide you with a single disaster recovery failover switchover capabilities, but also switchover failover capabilities of your entire stack. So you can consolidate all your applications and databases together inside a single switchover and failover plan, and then use FSDR or OCI to switchover or failover it. Now, apart from that, we also have integrations with SQL Server and Postgres as well. So not only Oracle SE workloads, but also SQL Server and Postgres. So you could do switchover and failover with using Dbvisit Standby multi-platform and integrated with FSDR and switch over and fail over your entire stack along with your databases. So who we are? So we are specialist in disaster recovery. So we are around 15 years old company. We have around 1,700 customers across 120 countries. So we provide or we would say fantastic disaster recovery and world-class customer service for your Oracle Standard Edition databases and also for your SQL Server and Postgres. So this having a Dbvisit ensures that you reduce your cost on your Enterprise Edition licenses and by utilizing Standard Edition. And apart from that, you can also utilize SQL Server and Postgres for your Enterprise Editions as well, so that you can make your DR much more intuitive, easily available, and also easily supported as well. So this is something which is we are very proud of. So we have around 98% customer satisfaction, and for the past year, we have around 99.5% customer satisfaction. And as I said, we are around 120 countries across the world use our product, and we have a renewal rate of around 95%. So this is a much more proof that how much we are loved and how much customers wants to use our product and how much they want to renew the product and keep using it as well. So Dbvisit addresses key challenges for your disaster recovery. So let's look at what are the key challenges that we have when it comes to disaster recovery. So Dbvisit helps with DR challenges where you cannot rely on your DBA to be there at all the time for an emergency. For example, you might have an emergency at the middle of the night where your DBA might be on a vacation, or your organization has only a single DBA who's not available at that point in time. And so that's where Dbvisit comes into the picture, where our intuitive, simple GUI helps you to perform your switchover, failover, maintaining all these tasks are performed in a single pane of glass view with the latest version 11.7. And it also helps you to do your switchover failover much more easily and efficiently without having to have a skilled DBA present in your team. But at the same time, FSDR complements this by extending the solution not only to your databases, but also to your application stack as well, thereby ensuring that within a single click, you not only fail over or switch over your applications, but also your databases, and also your application stack along with your object file storages as well. So this is one of the important things that you need to remember. And the second challenge being, so backups and high availability are always not enough. So for example, high availability has complications where even though it is split across instances, the storage is still the same, and there might be failure for your storages as well. And there might be some latency issues when it comes to high availability. And backups take a lot of time for you to restore. So you might have to wonder about what is the last full backup that was taken, and what are the incremental backups that has been taken. And for example, if it comes to Oracle, when was the last Oracle backup taken, archelog backup taken, and also whether you can access the archelogs from the time the backup was not taken to the latest archelogs. So these are some of the complications that are there. And at the same time, when it comes to SQL Server or Postgres, we have similar challenges. Especially for SQL Server, we need to understand when was the last transaction log backup taken, whether it was taken recently, and then also when was the incremental and full backup taken as well. And the foundation for any great DR would be out of region standby databases, where your production is in one of the regions, and a standby is completely a different region and a geographically different place altogether, thereby reducing the risk of having a failure if your entire data center or infrastructure fails. So even though this might be a remote possibility, but this is still very much a possibility for you to happen. That's where Dbvisit comes into picture, where protecting you and your businesses with a great DR solution and an easier method for your switchover and failover actions as well, and also providing you an intuitive method to keep your standby in sync with your primary. So, and when it comes to Dbvisit, you know that it's available for both on-premise and cloud solutions. And if you're looking at OCI, FSDR complements Dbvisit solutions as well, because so both complement each other really well, because with having Oracle Standard Edition, SQL Server or Postgres, you not only can fail over your databases, but with FSDR, you could fail over or switch over your entire stack, your application servers, your object storage servers, and all those things can be failed over together along with your databases with a single click. And so it also unlocks the possibility of using your SQL Server, and soon we'll also be introducing for Postgres as well. So now let's look at, so how do I integrate Oracle Standard Edition with FSDR on OCI? So, before that, let's have a brief introduction. We know about a StandbyMP platform, where it's a disaster recovery solution for Oracle Standard Edition. This exactly works like your data guard. So what we do is, so to set up, we take a backup, restore it in your standby, and then keep shipping archive logs from your prime production to your standby site at regular intervals, so that the standby is always in sync with your primary. That's for Oracle. When it comes to SQL Server, we do the same with transaction log backups. And for Postgres, we do have 3 different methods in which we can provide DR solutions for it. So we provide a highly resilient standby database with a failover and switchover capability, and switchover with 0 data loss capability. And so it's backed by 24/7 DBA support from my team, which is, as you know, that if you have experienced our team, you know that we provide a very good support and quick turnaround time for your issues and concerns. So now let's look at the failover switchover concept when it comes to FSDR. The switchover operations in FSDR with application stack is very simple. For example, here, if you look at it, my production is in Ashburn, and my standby is in, let's say, Phoenix region. So, and for example, your database is already been, standby database is already being created using DataGuard. This is for your enterprise edition. And your boot volumes, your block storages, your file storages, and your object storages are constantly synced with your standby site as well. So, for example, so you create 2 DR protection groups, one for your production and one for your standby, that is one in your Ashburn region and another in your Phoenix region in this example. And the storage, underlying storage is all synced. And so when you see here, the application servers on your standby site are not created. For example, during your switchover process, what we do is the virtual machines that support the application stack are shut down by our FSDR jobs, and machines of the same parameters are created in the standby region. So once the machines are created, the primary side applications machines are dropped. The underlying storage for these applications, like your boot volume, block storage, file storage, and object storage, are all synced, which is sort of a backup. So that runs every few minutes, so that the standby side is in sync with your production site. So then these storages, like your boot volumes, are attached to your application servers. So these new virtual machines that are created are exactly of the same configuration and has the exact same data as your production site. So once your application servers are started up in your DR site, then what we do is the database roles are reversed using Oracle DataGuard services. So this is how you do it with Oracle DataGuard. So when it comes to Dbvisit Standby, we provide you with a cost-effective, resilient architecture for your applications with your Oracle SC and Dbvisit Standby. So when it comes to Dbvisit Standby, so we do exactly the same. So, but what we do is underlying, we use Dbvisit Standby switchover process and failover process to do your switchover and failover. But there are a few things that we need to understand here. So the main restrictions when it comes to FSDR is we cannot create, when you are creating an FSDR stack or adding emissions to your DR production group, you cannot add Oracle Standard Edition mission to your DR production group or your DR group. So for what we did is the best way we found out is 2 different methods which we can overcome this. So let's look at one of these methods as well. So each and every method. So the first method is, as I said, you cannot add your missions or DBS missions onto your DR protection group if you're using Oracle SE. So what we did is we created a compute instance with no other purpose than starting your FSDR plans. So like Greg pointed out in his video, where you need to create your plans, and there are plan steps, and then inside the plan step, we execute it serially, and then these plan groups are executed in parallel and other things. So, but instead of just lying there, what we do is this compute mission is used as your central console missions. So what we do is the database systems are not registered, so they cannot be directly targeted. So during the during the DR plan execution, the Oracle Cloud Agent connects to this control center mission and starts the shell scripts for your switchover and failover process. The compute center, the compute instance itself migrates during the switchover process and during the failover process. The main advantage of this approach is so you can use native OCA database systems machines for your databases. This means that machines are pre-installed and pre-created with your Oracle databases, and also you can use native tools for running your backups and patching and etc. So this is the first method. So I'll show you in my demo what are the plans that we created inside this plan groups as well. So let's look at that in a couple of minutes. So the first method is to create your DBV control mission itself on your production side and move that entire mission from your production to standby. And then execute your switchover and failover tasks. So the second method is if you're using your compute mission as your for your Oracle, for example, if you're using bare metal machines. So when you're using bare metal machines, both machines can be registered in your DR groups, but there's no need to add additional compute missions in this case. For example, if you're having one-on-one configuration, it's simpler to implement this. What you have is you can create your, use your control center in your DR machine, and then use it directly to switch over and fail over your databases. But one key disadvantage is once your switchover is done, you will be running your control center and everything on your primary side. So that's one key disadvantage here. So now what we'll do is let's look at a small demo, or let me show you the cloud screen, OCA screen on DR protection groups. So if you look at here, so I have two protection groups. One is DR group 83 and DR group 81, and it has its peer group as well. So for 83, the peer group is 81. For 81, the peer group is 83. So 83 is your primary and 81 is your standby. And all your DR plans are created only on the standby side. So let me click here. And if you click here, there are two plans I have. I have a switchover plan and I have a failover plan here. So the first, let's go into switchover plan. So as in Greg in his video, he said that there are two plan types. One is user defined and another is built-in, right? So for example, I have quite a few built-in checklists here, type of plans, plan groups here. And inside this plan group, I have individual plan steps as well. So these plan steps can be run in parallel, but the plan groups has to be run in serial. So now let's look at, for our first method, how do I do it? First is I do a pre-check. Once I do a pre-check, what I do is I stop the control center application. And once I stop the control center application, I stop the compute instance of that control center. And then I switch over this volume groups from your primary to standby. So what I do is I ensure that the volume groups that are available on my primary is no longer there on the primary. All the volume groups are brought up in your standby side. And then I start the compute instance or the control center instance on the standby side, and then attach these volume groups there. Once I attach the volume groups there, I bring up my control center, and then I start the switchover process. So this switchover process is done using remote SSH. So I can just run a small script, and then it will a CLI script that will run the switchover process. Once the switchover process is done, you can either terminate the virtual missions as soon as you bring up your application control center on your standby side, or wait for the switchover to complete. Stop your control center on the primary side and then remove it later. Or then as soon as you bring up a control center application on your standby side, you could just drop your applications or reverse your replication process so that the underlying volume group, storage groups are synced up in the reverse direction as well. So these are some of the things that you can do with it. And for example, this is the switchover process here. If you look at here, so the script that I run is a single script here. So this single script would have the switchover process that for Dbvisit, it's a single CLI command that I use. And similar to that, you can use it for your for both your Oracle, SQL Server, and Postgres as well. So next is so this we have already covered. So FSDR is not only for Oracle Standard Edition, so you can integrate your SQL Server. As Greg showed in his video, there's a SQL Server job where he was able to switch over his SQL Server databases from production to standby. And then for Postgres, we are planning to introduce the support for Postgres by mid of October. So we saw the demo. So with Dbvisit and FSDR, we provide you with a cost-effective, fully automated full-stack DR. And it is very easy to implement as well. And we have, an extensive user guide that is available, which gives you all the steps to perform. So FSDR is an automated DR solution covering both applications, storages, network, databases that are in OCI. You can use your database DBCS services or your bare metal Oracle virtual machines as well. So architecture can be highly resilient with replication across availability domains and across regions as well. For example, in my example, which I showed here, I showed across availability domain, but I can also do it across regions as well. So and integrating Dbvisit standby with FSDR enables support for Oracle SE databases as well, because you don't have standard edition data guard features in standard edition. So you can utilize Dbvisit standby to integrate to provide you with a data guard-like feature for your standard edition, at the same time integrated with FSDR. And utilizing SC, StandbyMP, and FSDR, the businesses can create a cost-effective, highly resilient databases and provide you a lot of, savings. And furthermore, the FSDR enables OCI infrastructure savings on the second region for application servers as well. So you don't have to create your application servers on your DR region and keep it idle till the time you want to switch over or fail over. With FSDR, you can move those instances from your primary to standby, or you can also create it as an immovable instances as well. So if you want to invest more, you could keep the servers running idly there, or you could not create anything on your standby side and utilize the FSDR capability to move those instances from your primary site, your standby site, and then effectively do that. This is my end of my presentation, and Erin, back to you. Thank you for listening.
Great. Thank you so much, VJ. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We've got about a minute left, so if you do have any questions, please do leave them in the chat. Otherwise, we will be following up with each of you with the webinar recording, the presentation slides, as well as more information on Oracle Database 23 AI and full stack disaster recovery, as well as standby multi-platform for Oracle, Postgres, and SQL Server. So yeah, you'll receive that email later on today. But yeah, if there's any questions, please do leave them in the chat. Otherwise, you can also, if you have any questions later on, I'll be sharing everyone's details, their emails, so you can ask questions later on as well. Perfect. All right. We haven't yet had any questions, so Greg King, I have no ability to see or answer questions. I think because you're a panelist, Greg.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think
if there are any, you want to read them.
we haven't had any yet, so none in the chat at this point. So I think you guys did an excellent job.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.